Yeah. Good afternoon, good evening to a few of you. Welcome to today's community briefing. Today is the 13th of April, and we are glad you're here. My name is Gregory Sneed, and the name of my company is Lifesaver Financial Services. Actually, while we're at it, why don't we take down, until she's ready here, take down the, can we take down the screen there
Up
for now?
sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. So welcome for our guest today is Delphine Pruitt, and she's going to be sharing some information with us about financial activities, things that are going on. She's an innovative leader, revenue generator, and an expert in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we'll be hearing more about her from her in just a moment. So we're glad you're here. So get settled. Again, my name is Gregory Sneed. Name of my company, Lifesaver Financial Services. I help my clients keep more of the money they make so they feel better about their life. And now it's my pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage the queen of our community briefing, Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you on this Thursday gloomy morning. I'm not quite sure what California is doing. My cousin called me the other day and said, "Okay, so what happened to all that sunny California stuff going on?" I told him I have no clue. I have no clue. We are doing some new stuff right now. Hopefully we will get back to our old regular stuff because I'm looking forward to it. But welcome to the community briefing. It is an inspiration of mine. During the pandemic, as everyone knows, it was inspired because I wanted to make sure we had a platform that provided us with information in real time, so we knew exactly what was going on and how we could meet the needs of our community in real time, so that we didn't lose out on any of the resources and information that was being provided to our communities, so our businesses would survive and our communities would survive. So that was the inspiration, and it took a leg on it took some legs on its own, and it did exactly what I needed. It brought a collaboration of all of us together to close down our silos, so we operated as a whole community. And so I am proud of that piece of action. If I left here tomorrow, I hope y'all would continue on that practice without me. And and that's what we're doing. So we have a fantastic team. I am the Stephen Turner and Gregory Sneed, and Miss Robin Billups. She's off doing medical stuff today. So, but she's always here with us, and she's probably listening in where she is. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, and we are all here, all of us that are here on the platform here, serving our community in some capacity. This platform is here to bring you and introduce you to the leaders and stakeholders in our community that are sitting at the table, um, um, in the process of those making decisions on our behalf, hearing and listening to those decisions, making sure that we stay off that menu, and then bringing that information back. But it's also a networking platform for us to get together and make sure that we're recycling those dollars and supporting each other's businesses so that we can be successful in our endeavors. Um, so with that, I am going to turn it back over to Greg Sneed. But before I go, I work with a number of organizations in this city, providing training and mentorship to our Black business community, Black and Brown business communities. But in the summertime, I do this excellent program of teaching youth entrepreneurs how to become business owners. And so we are kicking it off again in June and July. We have two programs live this year. We're going back live. So it starts June 12th. So there are flyers out there. I will post them in the chat today, where we will be teaching kids how to be entrepreneurs absolutely free. So if you guys have any budding teenagers out there that have aspirations to be entrepreneurs, and even if they don't, guys, push them out there to do so. We pay them a stipend, and we're also looking for interns. So you got any young college kids that need to make some money this summer, push those over to us as well. we will be we need them like ASAP. And so I'll put the information, and this is with the Los Angeles Urban League. I'm one of the instructors. This is an amazing program. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Greg, and then I will come back later on about you guys subscribing to our YouTube channel. Gregory,
All right, all right, all right.
you.
Crystal, it wouldn't be the same without you. So drive carefully. We can't make it without you. So you gotta stay part of the program.
Okay.
And welcome everybody. Armand, you look like you're ready for a fireside chat there. And
Armand is the sharpest man on the planet, man, for a remote.
So we're glad you're here.
Today's a pink day, I guess.
That's okay. It's good. So our guest today, Delphine Pruitt, and she is currently, let's get you your title official. She is with U.S. Bank. She is a business access advisor, and she's been there since about a year and a half. She was previously with Bank of the West, and I used them as a lender. When I used to sell boats a long time ago, and Bank of the West was one of my favorite lenders doing financing for boats some 15, 20 years ago. She was with Connect the Dots Consultant. She was a principal consultant. She was with Fannie Mae as a senior business manager. She was also a deputy director for District of Columbia and that was 3 years. She was with the Rockefeller Foundation. She was a fellow for 2 years. She has education from Southern California Leadership Network. She has a Bachelor of Science from St. Louis University. Are you originally from St. Louis? We have had a number of folks from St. Louis. I wonder what the connection is. St. Louis. Wonder why we get so many folks from St. Louis.
We have Michael Anderson and Robin.
And Robin, yeah, exactly. So we're glad you're here. So she is an innovative leader, revenue generator. She is an expert in diversity, equity, inclusion. She believes in strategic, transformational diversity and collaborative, diplomatic, and tenacious, possessing the critical qualities necessary to drive DEI success. So she's got some great information with us. She's got a slide presentation she's going to be sharing with us. So it is my pleasure. Were you born and raised in St. Louis?
Look, I was born and raised in St. Louis. I've known Michael Anderson since I was about 12 years old. So,
yeah, I can testify.
Yeah, I think I was 12, 11, going on 12 years old. We grew up
together. That was only 20 years ago, right? That was only 20 years ago. It's not that long.
Got St. Louis roots.
So I don't know. I started young, but yes, I'm born, raised, bred, everything from St. Louis. And the reason you see so many St. Louis people, because we're from the show me state, and that's what we do. We show.
Yeah, then we had to come to Los Angeles though, because we ain't showing too much in Missouri.
This is Roz. And this is Roz. So Delphine, if you're from St. Louis, what's the famous thing that people ask you when you say that? And that's what high school did you
what high school you went to? But see, Roz,
I'm from St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis.
We met briefly at some events. We met before, but I actually graduated with Roz's sister from high school.
Oh boy.
Right.
Yeah, her sister and I graduated same year from high school, Beaumont High. Class.
There you go.
I think I had heard that from everybody that had lived in, grown up. That's a big high school.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I have a large family too. Roslyn have a large family, and we have a large family. I come from a large family. It's 9 of us in my family. You know,
that's right.
I have a good friend of mine from Brooklyn. His name is Kevin Pruitt. I have to ask him, is his family from St. Louis?
Yeah, it depends on how you spell the last name. It's either P-R-U-I-T-T or P-R-E-W.
Exactly the way yours is.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Never know, but I'm excited.
We're excited
to be here. I know I've been trying to get on a community briefing and trying to get my feet wet as transitioning, to U.S. Bank. I've been here like almost a year and a half, but I'm telling you, I feel like dog years. I feel like I've been here Forever has been a whirlwind, and I'm really excited to be here. And I would tell you before we get started, I came to US Bank because of the access commitment I'm going to share with you. This is what drove me to come to US Bank. So let's just get started. Wait a minute. Okay, great. And I'm just going to share, these are basic our core values. We do the right thing, we power potential, we stay ahead, a step ahead, we draw strength from diversity, and we put people first. And since I've been here, I've seen all these values put into play. Our next slide is really interesting, and it talks about the powering potential for all our customers. It's the right thing to do, and it's also crucial to our growth. As you can see by this slide, 97% of the folks in the US Bank retail footprint are multicultural individuals. And we heard over and over again, by the year 2050, majority of the population going to be majority minorities. So I think it's very crucial and critically important for our future, as our customers and employees and community become more diverse, that we respond in a way to actually serve that population. And that's why diversity, equity, inclusion is not only part of our core values, but it's a part of our business strategy. And my role at the bank as a business access advisor is simply that, really moving it from the top down to actually engaging folks in local communities. Now we talk a little bit about the wealth gap. We at US Bank feel we can make the most impact as a financial institution by focusing on closing the wealth gap. As we know that the wealth gap between Blacks and white is very significant. It's actually 8-1. The typical white family has 8 times the wealth of the typical Black family and 5 times the wealth of the typical Hispanic family. And I'm sad to know that Black wealth is at the lowest, of the gap. We have the biggest wealth gap there is. And in the United States, the gap in households' wealth by ethnicities really creates barriers for socioeconomic mobility for Blacks and Hispanic individual families and communities. So it's really crucial that we look at addressing that wealth gap. And by closing the wealth gap, it could result in a 6% increase in the GDP. It's based on increasing anywhere from 11 to 12,000 per American here in the US. So it's really helpful to our economy to focus on decreasing that wealth gap. Now we're going to talk about access commitment, which is what brought me to US Bank. It is a new long-term approach to serving diverse businesses, communities, and employees. And based on the data I just briefly shared about what our market looked like and that wealth gap, we are starting with the Black community. So this initiative was launched in February 2021 before I came here, and starting and leading with the focus on the Black community, because that is where the wealth gap is largest. All the initiatives included under this access commitment will work towards addressing systemic inequities that have led to the 10-1 racial wealth gap we discussed earlier between whites and Blacks. Access commitment is a movement for me, a new way of working where all areas of the business are able to leverage their unique expertise to get behind the same goal. So within here, just not an initiative that's just in one specific area. It's an initiative that goes across all business lines within the bank. And so leading with the Black community, we're starting focusing on access business, which is looking at engaging Black business and community. The other one is access home, looking at home ownership and financial education there. And then lastly is looking at working internally and building, enhancing opportunities for our employees internally. And with that, we have created some initiatives and leadership programs that are actually to help increase Black employees going up the advance throughout the company. Now in 2021, in May, they created an access fund that was launched. And this fund was created to provide debt to women of color owned micro businesses that would include access to capital, mentoring, networking, and technical assistance. Now, to add to that, the reason we focus on that particular population, think about the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 in Black communities and communities of colors. And like 40% of Black businesses that actually suffer during the first, quarter of COVID. And so there was a tremendous need to help those women of color micro businesses sustain. Our new fund was created to break down some of the barriers, the racial and economic barriers that prevent many minority and women-owned micro enterprises, leaders from launching and expanding their business. And so the fund was created to actually assist that. And it went to, again, Black owned and operated CDFIs who were providing this assistance to Black led and women owned micro businesses. During that time, they also created access to capital in terms of development, collaborating to invest in developers of color. This was an initiative through our U.S. Bank Corp Impact Fund. We used to be U.S. Bank Community Development Corporation. We have now changed the name to U.S. Bank Corp Impact Fund that focus on getting more developers of color in the real estate industry. It provided grants to CDFI, which are on the ground providing much needed technical assistance to help address historical barriers faced in entering this industry, as well as including some who might need additional experience and equity and capital to get started. The first year we did $250K total in grants was split among 3 CDFIs. And each year we open up a process for them to do that. And what that focus on is CDFIs who are providing technical assistance and helping other CDFIs get established. And so that's what this fund was created for, address some of the barriers. They also, at the time, which is not in here, which I found really fascinating, was that created a racial equity bond, the first of its kind from our city team. So they created an actual racial equity bond to help address some of those systemic barriers for developers of color as well. Now we're going to get to the fun stuff. This is what I do. I'm focused on this access business, and really it is a really focused initiative under our access commitments to really help Black businesses grow and sustain their efforts. And we do that by providing access to information, connections, and capital. Now, what does that look like and how does that work? In terms of information, it might be financial education. It might be classes on managing cash flows. It might be financial management oversight. It can be credit. We have a series of workshops that we host to help small businesses grow and sustain. And a lot of that sometimes is education. I find that they're very good and smart and run their business, but some additional financial education can really help advance their efforts. And so I partner with and meaning me in LA. Let me just back up. Access Business, there are 9 business access advisors across the country. They are in Omaha, Nebraska, Denver, Colorado, Chicago, Illinois, Little Rock, Arkansas. We have one in Oakland. I'm here in LA. Then we have an opening in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have an opening in Colorado Springs. And I'm missing because we have 9. So did I say Nebraska, California, we have 2, Oakland and LA, Chicago, Little Rock, Denver, we have Colorado, we have 2, which is Denver and Colorado Springs. Oh, Minneapolis. I'm sorry, that's the 9th one. Our corporate office, Minneapolis. So we have 9, and it's the first positions, newly established positions within a company to actually go out and support and engage Black businesses. And so these are pretty much these 3 buckets: information, connection, and capital. All our activities center around those 3 buckets. And like I said, we have partnered with LA Urban League. We have partnered with SBA navigators who are work with SBA to do outreach to Black business. So we partner with SBA navigators like the Los Angeles Urban League. I am in talks now with, of course, GLAC and other SBA navigators out there that you're aware of, Vermont Slauson, that you're aware of. We're actually looking to ramp up that in terms of doing some financial education around SBA, the products, how they work, what's required. US Bank is the #1 SBA lender here in California by units. So we actually do more loans, SBA loans, than anyone here in the state of California. So we are actually, what's the terminology? I can't think of it now. I just went blank. Blame it on the allergies. But anyway, we're we're the #1 lender here. And so we actually prefer lender. I'm sorry, that's it, prefer. I knew if I stay here for a moment, it come to me. We're a preferred SBA lender, which means that there's some things that are streamlined that we can do and we can process. So we are a preferred SBA lender. And so we are working with our partners, our CDFI partners, to do that. One other piece in terms of information too is that I am working with minority contractors, National Association of Minority Contractors, and seeing how we can create opportunities there. All the trade association, Black Business Association, GLAG, Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce, also work with LA South Chamber of Commerce. I mean, if it's anyone who actually touch Black businesses, I tend to reach out to and explore opportunities for us to partner to do that. Another one of our partners is PCR, Pacific Coast Regional Finance. I think I saw Colette on here.
She's there.
We work okay, we work closely with them on that as well too. The other one is connections. And what we mean by connection is creating networking opportunities. I can tell you a lot of business, small business, and some even larger that I meet are not affiliated with any of those organizations I just mentioned. I'm forever saying, have you looked into becoming a member of the Black Business Association? Have you looked into GLAC and seen about becoming a member there? There's opportunity, there's information, there's networking, there's sharing, there's things that can connect you to others as a way to help grow and sustain your business. So I'm always promoting these organizations as a way for them to get connected to, so they can get information and be able to identify opportunities that might advance their work. One thing we did is that I'm learning that here at the bank, and we have so many different areas here, that we have a experiential team that does things in promoting our brand. Well, in December, they was the sponsor of a LAC3, I think it was, event in December, where it was music type festival, but then there was a marketplace. And so there came an opportunity, and we were sponsor for us to sponsor some of our small businesses to be a part of their marketplace. So those are other connections I look for. But any type of events or opportunities going on within the bank externally, I look for ways to connect folks to that as well. And so we have a relationship with partnership with Destination Crenshaw. And since this was focusing on the arts, we were able to leverage some of their artists to be a part of that event and actually feature them so folks get opportunity to know more about these businesses. The last is access to capital, which we know is what is needed. And for me, when I'm saying access to capital, it can be internally or externally or through our CDFI partners. For example, one way indirectly that we have in terms of access to capital, there is, I'm going to give a plug to one of our partners, and that's PCR. They created a SELF program, Sisters Entrepreneurial Lending Fund. And we provided, remember on the other slide, talking about how we gave $250,000 to folks who help other CDFIs, or we actually provided funding to the Alliance for African American CEOs for CDFIs. And so through that funding, we were able to fund PCR SELF program, the initial program from that. And from that program, they were able to help 22 or 23 female African-American business owners, grow and sustain their business. And I can just say that having gone and participated in some of the workshops and then going to the graduation to hear these stories on how these women actually benefit from this cohort type relationship, it was just amazing. So those are kind of things that we look for in terms of capital. And then at the end, they were able to get a grant in the business operation and technology. But there's other things. I had a young African-American filmmaker production company. And she, by way of someone internally, was connecting with me. And she actually did a short film on suicide, dealing personally, because what happened to folks' family when someone committed suicide. But anyway, make a long story short, she called me and said, and then our film qualified for the Oscar and we need money for marketing. Yeah. I was like, back up, stop, put the brakes on. You have a short that qualified for the Oscar? It's like amazing. See, but she was so, I need to get the money for the marketing because they use their own marketing company. Wow. She hadn't been in business very long. Wow. I was able to connect her with a fund where she was able to get the money she needed at 0% interest. So they were able to market her film to qualify for the Oscars. I mean, there's plenty of stories. I meet folks that needed a van, and they're like, we need a van. We're going mobile since COVID. And in 24 hours, she submitted an application to US Bank. What, even 24 hours up as much? It might have been more like 4 or 5 hours. She got her approval. 3 days later, she's driving her van because of our equipment financing. So I'm here to make this process as transparent as possible, because there is a relationship between Black people and the banks historically, and we understand why. So that I'm here to actually make that process as transparent as possible, and to help them navigate that process so we can get what they need. I get folks now that come through all likes. I mean, someone actually came to see me and they had a bunch of cash and they was looking at investment, and they actually said, we really good at generating income. They own their own business, husband, wife, they own their own business. Fresh time, but they had a bunch of cash sitting around. And so I was able to connect them with our wealth folks, and they came up with a whole wealth strategy, and then they opened up an account. Now they're investing and, doing other things. And now they're looking at, buying, residential property and things of that nature that's going to build wealth. And the actual husband said, we've been good at generating income, but what we need is get better at is building wealth. And they was thinking about, their kids. So whether it's access business or access home, I spent 15 years at Fannie Mae. So anybody want to know anything about housing, I can tell them. I spent 15 years in housing. So, or whether it's wealth, because a lot of times it doesn't take even a lot of money sometimes to start building wealth. But as business owners, one thing I want to focus on to help them think about that, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My brother was a developer. My mother did hair for years. My grandfather was a barber. So it's kind of like in my DNA. And the way I approach my work is through that entrepreneurial spirit, but yet understand the challenges and issues that one might have. So initially, if someone comes see me, I just want to learn as much as I can about their business. I'm usually having a conversation about that. And then I'm doing a financial analysis to see because financial is key, and see what it is, where they stand and where they need to go, with that. And so that is what I do. And that is what I love to do. And in terms of our partners, I'm really looking to expand that. You can never have, too many partners out here. And I'm here to support as many as I can, with the goal of really decreasing that wealth gap and making sure that folks are able to sustain their business, not only grow, but sustain their efforts. And also, which leads to creating jobs, and it might be creating their own, as a small business person. So that's what this access business is, in a nutshell. And like I said, I'm here to help them get capital anywhere. If it's not US Bank, whom, and I'm going to direct them to do that. And then I'll just go to this last slide. It just came out. And you can see this on our website recently. Since we launched this access commitment in 2021, what have we done? But since going through end of 2022, well, we invested $321 million in capital went to Black-owned or led businesses, but this is up from $197 million in 2021. In terms of spending supplier diversity, we spent 487 million spent with diverse suppliers in 2022, including 276 million of that spent with Black suppliers. And that's up from 194 million in 2021. The 250 million specialty finance approved to support CDFI, that that is in communities of color. So that 250 million was spent in specialty finance approved to support CDFIs to make loans to communities of color and to developers of color. We have 200 Black, leaders internally that have completed leadership training through McKinsey Black Leadership Academy. We have 250 million in impact capital approved to spend with emerging developers of color. And then lastly, US Bank continues work to support minority deposit institutions, including its work with First Independence Bank, which is a Black-owned bank. And in 2022, our First Interstate Bank expanded to the Twin Cities with support and partnerships from US Bank as well as 4 other banks to help them with capital. And that's where we are here today. And what I didn't mention, what I do want to mention, which I think is a really great project, is expand a little bit more on Destination Crenshaw. We provide 30 million in new market tax credit that generated 8.6 million in equity to fund that project. And I can tell you, Destination Crenshaw is going to change the way Crenshaw looks. tremendously through the work that they're doing. And now I'm working with Jason because a lot of folks are artists, and we're looking at developing some type of customized educational training, for artists, so they can understand you're still a business and how you operate and things of that nature. And so we're working with him to do that for artists, looking at several projects in the Leimert Park that I'm excited about that could be very transformative in the Leimert Park, as well, and looking at partnering, with the Metro. So those are some things I'm just exploring and horizon that nothing is final yet, but those are things I'm looking at. And so I'm trying to, while reach as many folks as possible, but want to partner and really transform that Crenshaw Leimert district is some of the things I'm looking at. I think we do that to actually, just really celebrate the history and culture, the Black culture, in that area. So with that, I will be open for questions.
Well, thank you very much, Delphine. That was very informative. Thank you. While you have that slide on there, you mentioned something about, spending money, 250 million. Is that's money that's provided in loans?
Yes.
You say providing capital. So when that,
So
it's money is
it's
not really
loans
spending.
and grants.
Okay, loan and grant. So, and is there any way that number gets separated? Because 250. Oh yeah, you didn't spend 250. A portion of it goes out in loans, and then other parts are in grants. That would be great information.
Okay.
The loans that go out, are they at standard rates? Is the rate get bought down or subsidized? Obviously interest rates have gone up, tremendously in the last 12 months. So
in terms of community development, that's not my area of expertise.
Okay.
And so, but I will tell you that we do have patience capital, which is usually below market interest for those for different projects that are out there. So community development have to expand more on that, but we do offer patience capital, and that is in terms of below market. In terms of a business loan is standard. It's not, any subsidy for a business loan, although we did just launch a business diverse lending program, which is a special purpose program that we actually launched on the 23rd of March for women of color and folks with businesses, women of color, veterans, market, particularly, look what I'm trying to say, I'm losing my words. It is for women of color and veteran business owners.
Got it. And
so it could be minorities as well as women, women of color and veteran business owners.
And Gregory, I just wanted to add you mentioned the grants and the loans. Not all banks provide grant pass-through money that goes to clients. So we were in the position, not only did we get money from US Bank to do a pass-through grant, which was, significant for the women in our cohort to get technology and stuff or use for capital improvements, whatever they were doing. But then the other part was money for lending as well. So we had a pot of money, but it takes a while for the women to get ready for lending. So it's probably 6 months to a year, but the loan capital is available. So we were able to say, hey, we have money to lend you when you're ready. We have money, we got money to be able to lend you. But the combination of the grant and the loan have been very effective to kind of keep people in the program, but also give them something that they could help to use to, grow their business as well. But not many banks do both.
Right. So. And does any of this come from, I know the state of California has a lot of money that is sort of backstopping or guaranteeing loans. So is any of this money supported through that, or is it separate, or is it duplicative, or in addition to those funds that are coming from the state of California?
No, this is all from US Bank, right?
Yeah, US Bank, all US Bank. We're not participating in the state program, but this is all US Bank capital. And I misspoke. The 250 million is strictly capital and loans, in there. That's what the 250 million is. One thing that I think would give you more clarity around what this looked like is that I don't know how many are aware of that we launched, not launched, but created a community benefit plan. And it took effect the day that our acquisition of Union Bank, and that community benefit plan is $100 billion in community benefit plan. Of that $100 billion of investments, and that's considered investments and grants, and all that is detailed in it. 60 billion stays in the state of California. And I would highly recommend reviewing that community benefits plan. And it's got like 9 different components in it. It's focused on home ownership. It focuses on community development. It's focused on small business lending. It focuses on, even part of it is sustainability. So I'm telling you, for someone who, when I saw it, and someone who's been embedded and did community work, because I've done this like way back in the day with CWED, Coalition for Women in Economic Development. I worked at Community Bill. So I come from a community background. That community benefit plan is really very detailed and very good. So it would detail you the information, Greg, that you was asking about is very detailed and tell you what's going where, how much are we going to spend in grants, how much, that community benefit plan is the tool, I think, that will answer all your questions about how much is grant and how much is this. These numbers here are strictly capital, infusion. But in that plan, it tells you how much is going to be invested and then how much is grants. And like I said, 60% stays in the state of California, and it's a very good plan. It's things in there like investing in Black sponsor equity, sponsor funds. So creating and investing money in Black funds, and it talks about commitment to small business, how much we're going to do in lending and community development, how much you're going to lend in underserved and LMI minorities communities. So I would say, all of the questions, we learning how much it is going to be. If you look at that community benefit plan, it goes through it, and and it's public. I'll be glad to send it to you, and you can share it. But it's public document. It was made in collaboration with California Reinvestment Coalition, CRC. Is even on their website, and it's the 5-year plan of what we need to do over the next 5 years.
Yeah, because that helps. Because as you're a business owner, you have a choice between a grant and a loan. I know where most people are going to lean towards.
Well, and then that's part of the education, because there's sometimes you might get a grant what's needed, like through COVID, but you can't run your business on a grant.
No.
So, but they need some help when needed, and that's what COVID. A lot of programs, I think, did that, and that was what was needed. Those programs were needed at the time to sustain those businesses. But now, part of the education is how you move beyond that. And there's some funds out here. There's a Black cooperative, investment fund, 0% interest. They do micro lending up to 25 grand, and you paying 0% interest. Well, it might not be a grant, but you're not charged interest. So now you're just paying back.
That's where I was going. And that's how we help narrow the gap, is by providing some, because access to capital, sure, okay, we didn't lend you before, but now we're willing to lend you. But now it's at, rates are higher. So, sometimes it sounds like money's being pumped into the community, but that money's coming back to the lender, plus interest. So it's rebounding back.
Yeah, but BCIF and these are when I talk about making those connections and then the capital, it might not just be with you as bank, but I'm trying to find where we can to help, because everybody got their own underwriting guidelines, and so there's some alternatives out here for folks, but they just don't know. You only know what you know, so a lot of information they don't know. I cannot tell you how many times I talk to folks and I'm like, have you contacted PCR? Have you contacted Vermont Slauson? They didn't know. What about PACE? So some of these groups that really do the work, because let me just tell you, there's no price you can put on TA that these CDFI do, the work that they do to support these small businesses. There's no price. It's priceless. We can never figure out a dollar amount, to do that. And I said the same thing for homeownership counseling, priceless, because of the time and effort taken in and put in. But there are resources out there, and I'm trying to work on building a resource, database for myself so I can start sharing with folks out here so they know what his resources are. They don't even know about Black Business Association, some of them.
We'll connect with you on that. A couple questions. And Michael, I see your hand. We'll get to you in just a moment. What impact does the merger between U.S. Bank and Union Bank look like in terms of U.S. Bank's philosophy on DEI?
The same. It's like, our philosophy, look, those core values we have, it's a business strategy. It's going to go through every business line here. So in terms of June 1st, that's when the conversion and everything should be complete. So it'd be no more Union Bank signs up. It'd be all U.S. Bank. So it's our core values, but it's my understanding, some of the folks I talk to, there's a lot of shared synergies around that already between Union Bank and how we value diversity, equity, inclusion, and work that we do, as well as the value that Union Bank had on it as well. And particularly as it comes to small businesses. So that was already there. So I think it's a great, in terms of the synergies is already there. But
Stephen has a good question here is how can we in the Black business community here be a resource to your bank in the current capacity? I mean, grants and loans are great, but a lot of businesses need revenue. So how are we able to participate in perhaps providing some of the activities and things that the bank is looking to do to help the community?
Look, I'm open to different activities. I'm not just the standard cookie cutter type, individual. I look for different unique ways we can do things. And so I would love to have a conversation about that and how we can leverage, the community briefly. What can we do in terms of promoting, other businesses and help folks out there? So I'm open to that. And and to me, nothing is off the table. Let me just have a conversation, and I can bring you perspective on what the bank can do, and how we can, partner together on that. So I can bring that perspective and let you know what the bank, can or, can now do. Like, what are the things that are non-negotiable? That's always my thing when I get into an organization. I mean, I want to look for change and they're open, but what are your non-negotiables? And then, as long as I'm not in that bucket, then I'm good.
Right. April is Financial Literacy Month. There's a number of us on this call that provide financial literacy. And so that would be, an ideal way of, of helping getting that information out.
Yep, that'd be a way we can do that and support that. So I support a lot of financial education workshops, across the board. Just did something with Areba's group for the parents of the kids who are autistic to take care. They went through a training. I just did something with them. So we're open. I'm open. Awesome. So let's have a conversation about it and see how we can support that, because I'm always looking at doing more financial education, not less.
We'll hit you up. Michael Anderson.
Hello, Dale.
Hey, Michael.
I love when I see Roots on TV. Especially from Missouri. You kind of know why we left too. One of the things for me is that, and it's funny, as I was looking at bank mergers and things, and even my history working in our community, the challenge is, how do we have a large enough economic growth where the businesses can qualify for the loans, because all that is impacted. I remember, some of you may remember, after the riots, there were loans that were made, but businesses couldn't get over $50,000. And that has a tangible relationship to what is the market activity? Is it growing or is it the same, right? And so for us, when I see U.S. Bank, and fortunately, I'm with Union Bank, and now I got to go through this account transition stuff that's freaking me out. But when I saw the bank saying they're going to be putting hundreds of billions of dollars into Black communities, the thing that goes off for me is, what's the feasibility of you doing a deal when an average Black person doesn't have equity to put down? At the same time, we have the challenges of, there's so much cash out there, as Dale was saying. As soon as a house goes on the market in a transitioning Black community, it gets bought up by somebody with cash right away, right? Or gets outbidded. So those are huge hurdles that also have to be addressed. That's not just a banking question. That's where you look at California Housing Finance Agency, and we need to look at If our workforce can't buy houses, meaning people who are working between 28 to 40 years old, that is creating a drain on us losing knowledgeable working people who are going to move to other states. And when I was in DC last week with the Chamber of Commerce, you heard them say this is a tipping point we're at, that we're facing a brain drain. When you say, why do people move to Texas, even though they don't like the culture? You get a big ass house, right? And so we really have to address Black and brown home ownership. And Dale, I would say banks should really consider giving Black folks, this is not your ability, extremely low interest rates to acquire property, so that as a method of making amends for redlining and to allow them to be able to buy a house, right? I mean, that's not something for you to answer or do, but that should be a conversation we should start elevating. And making it possible for CDFIs to use up large banks' capital to finance Black and brown home ownership, where they can earn the interest rates and grow. Otherwise, the bank's going to just become more powerful. Sorry,
Yeah, use some of that funding, yeah, for rate buy down. I mean, you know, that
would be a better use of the commitment, right?
Yeah.
That would be tangible
Huge.
deal making.
Huge.
And
Yeah.
even condos, we don't even have young people can't even buy a condo. They're not even building those. Everything are apartments to rent, which is a drain on your wealth. You're spending all your money in rent and you're not acquiring any wealth at all. The city is just mind-boggling. And unless you're moving way out in Antelope Valley or some astronomical crazy place that you can't even connect with your families, it's just, of course you're going to leave, and it's not going to help us grow. And we're going to lose all of our young people to leave to smaller places so that they can afford that. That's crazy.
And that's happening now, you know, and that's what we may not see it, or some of you may see it. Poor lower income Black folks in Watson, Willowbrook are moving to Lancaster, right?
Right.
And so now Lancaster's recognized, so now they're building apartments, and apartments is the model that helps others maintain wealth. And the fact that we have a physical unit shortage, we have 1 million units needed in counting today. It's like selling an overbooked flight. As soon as a ticket seat becomes available, somebody wants to get out, it's going to pay a higher price for it. So that's the conversation that I feel is not a Dale situation that needs to be elevated among officials. How can we make it so that Black, especially Black people, your chart showed it, we're at the bottom. You know, everybody else can assimilate in some way. We're at the bottom. Black is like, you're at the bottom of any economic opportunity, which is why we're less than 8. Others are 8 times wealthier or 5 times wealthier. I'm gonna stop.
That helps a lot. Yeah, I mean, because when you're in the room, you know, to be able to pass that up. And then and very quickly, Michael, I know you had shared with us some months ago some ideas on converting an R1 lot into 3 kind of components. And so if that lot, you know, if a house on that property would be $1 million, dividing up, I think it was 3 units, or was it 4 units?
3 or 4. It's either a triplex or a fourplex. Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously, you know, having 3 units at 400,000, you know, 400,000 is a lot easier for someone to get in versus, you know, trying to raise $1 million. So that's $1 million too.
Well,
just $6 million, right?
Well, if you have a home and plus income property, if you have income property, at least 2 or 3 units, you're going to get financing because they know you have a revenue stream.
Yeah.
Buying a single family house, nobody's going to be attracted to you because they're going to be looking at your personal income.
Right.
Sources of income. The average Black person, anybody, you know, that's working, making $60,000 or less, can't purchase anything. So you need
What, you know, a couple of things is that I think in terms of, you know, working with the Black community, whether it's home ownership or business, there's a part of it that historically had kept folks not wanting to do certain things. They feel like they can't do it. I don't have this. I don't have enough money. So when I say education, I'm not thinking of typical education. Let's sit down and really identify what they see as a barrier to them. And sometimes it starts with the mindset. You know, yeah, you can, because, and then for those who do want to, of course, there's some other barriers down the road, but often when I talk to folks, they get so excited, but sometimes having that support. And that's why I look at some of the things they do at PCR and Vermont Sun, having a cohort, have somebody around you that can help, push you and tell you can do this and motivate you and inspire you. You need to have that, how do we build that component in? Because I can tell you that, my people, my family, I mean, I had a nephew that was in the Marines, and I used to come home, and this is when I was years ago, and I was working at Fannie Mae, and auntie, can you help me get a house? I was like, you're a VA. You ever use your VA benefits? I mean, so he knew he had them, like, I don't know how it work. And I had to tell him how it work. I didn't give him somebody to sit down. And I told this person, you're gonna have to hold his hand. And so that's what I mean. It's like, some folks will require a little bit extra, in order to get there, but can get there. So I see my role more of a coach, and others like that, like, yeah, you can do this. They need that coaching sometimes, because, think about running your business, you're wearing 15 hats. At some point, it wears on you, because I'd like to see business owners get to the point to where they can purchase a home.
Right, exactly.
And not just the individuals got a job, they do have a job and they contribute to our economy tremendously. But sometimes it's difficult for them to get a home. So let me help you put things in place, and financially, and what you need to put in place. So down the road, you decide you want to buy that home and you're ready to flip the switch to do that. Let's give you what you need now to put you on that path, to do that. And the same things with, people in home ownership, because they just think they can't. I'm like, why? Yeah, not difficulty here in California is affordability. But I always tell folks, like I used to always say this, think about your first car. This is your first house. It might have to be your last house. Think about your first car. It might have been a hoopty. You didn't always drive this car here. So you work your way up. So I'm like, don't go for, I want the Tesla, the Mercedes, or
Get the Rambler.
Then you go. That's good. Do that, but then the systemic barriers that Michael is talking about need to be addressed at the same time. So while we work in a mindset, getting folks here, you need to work on systemic barriers. And so that's how I see what I'm doing here in terms of small business. Systemically, what we need to do within the bank and policy-wise in general, that's going to help this process, eliminate some barriers for folks, getting entering. And so making it transparent, telling folks what they need to do, helping them get prepared, while at the same time you're addressing those systemic and other structural barriers that are there. And I think that's why we needed voices like the Michaels and the others, particularly who's been out there in their community doing this with different ways to look at it, and doing that. And so I would say that, but the same type of creativeness, let's think about it, on the business side.
Delphine, on behalf of all at the community briefing, we want to thank you. I mean, you've been very insightful. And if you like what you heard today, wait till next week, where we have Joseph Duncan will be a presenter. And following the week will be Deborah A. Hunter speaking on the community briefing. I apologize. Michael and I have another call at 3 o'clock at noon on the Crenshaw Quarter Symposium, which would be May 18th. So again, thank you, Delphine, from the bottom of my heart. I know it's been a while trying to get you there. Greg, I'll leave it up to you.
Delphine, thank you. I actually teach on that Navigator. I teach 2 classes on the Navigator pilot with the Urban League, the cash flow and bookkeeping compliance. So I'm going to be doing that next on the 3rd actually of May. So I've been doing that for the last 3 months, I think 3 or 4 months or cohorts. So thank you guys. It's been awesome. This is the perfect purpose of the community briefing. So thank you guys so much for that.
So can I add something? I'm just on just 5 seconds. I want us as Black folks to start recognizing if you're selling a house, find somebody Black to sell it to.
Oh, yes. Please do. And a mortgage person. Find that mortgage
Yeah,
person
make
that's
that
Black.
all religion. Yeah,
Find
go
that
Black.
find that appraiser that's Black. I just have to say that as the co-director, Recycling Black Dollars. Just keep it in the Black family. I am so sorry, folks, but just keep it in the family, or at least people that are allies to the Black family. So we just have to keep that supportive. I do want to pay homage to the fact that the community briefing is empowered and supported by Recycling Black Dollars, and as well as the BBA, the Black Business Association. We're here to support one another, and our fiduciary sponsor, our financial sponsors are Southern California Edison, SoCal Gas, PCR, as well as Los Angeles LDC, and behind me is Wells Fargo. The logos are all there. We want to thank you guys so much for your support. And I want to lead out with this, and Colette, thank you so much. Delphine, there was a post on my Facebook page last couple weeks ago. People were asking what banks can we go to that we can build relationships with. And so now I am going to go back and post this show on that post because it's been trending for a number of weeks now. So I'm going to make sure, because I love your commitment to the fact that you help people. And I'm going to end with this. Yesterday, I met with 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I met with a client that have been in business for over the last 20 years. And when I finally met with them, because there was a lot of problems with me actually getting to meet with them. And when I went into their facility, I finally understood why I was having such a problem, because they've been in business for 20 years and they were still operating as they were when they started 20 years ago. They had no staff. That was why it was so hard for us to keep our appointment. They are a multi-million-dollar entity, but they are still working because they had no staff. They both are working like crazy people in their business instead of on their business. And so, Delphine, you are absolutely right. I'm going to be coaching with them and someone else to help them get their self-positioned so they can hire it. They only need 5 people. 5 individuals that can help them elevate their business to a $20 million entity. And right now they are operating, they got a $20 million entity, but they're operating like $1 million entity. It's ridiculous. And they're a manufacturing firm. We have to get them out of our businesses, out of these positions where they're operating like moms and pops.
Yes.
We can change us, because right now you are absolutely right. If we were going to get an award for being the best of the best, it would be on the best of the best on the bottom. We have to get out the bottom, out of the award category of being the best of the bottom and get to the top. And that's the only way we can do that, through education. So however we can work together, I am all for it, because I can't take it no more.
They can call me and let's talk about how we get our name up here as a sponsor. You got all these other folks. Let's talk about that too.
Oh, we'd love to do that.
And I know some folks send me stuff in the chat, but I was so busy talking. So can you email me the chat later? You know,
I certainly can. And
that way I want to make sure I respond to those who were in the chat. But I love it, and they can give me a call. And the last thing that I'm looking at, and I'm in discussion with our supply diversity, how we can leverage that across, things too. So looking at our supply diversity. So
I love the conversation. You're a doer like we are in the team here, because that's what I'm about. It's like action, not talk.
Yeah. Show me state. Show me. Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. So thank you all. We're a few minutes over. I appreciate you. Joseph, we're excited about next week, and Deborah, the following week. We're excited about that. You guys go have a fantastic week. Thank you. For those of you that are new to the channel, please go out and tell everybody. Go over to our YouTube
channel.
Yes, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. You will get notification. Subscribe to our Facebook page. Subscribe to RB.
The QR code back up in there again.
The QR code. I will copy it and paste it. It's up in here in the chat, but I will go over here and repost it. Also, if you guys have any budding entrepreneurs, please make sure you let's see, repaste, rescroll. Make sure you send the kids over. They get paid for coming to our camp. We pay them a nice little stipend, and on top of that, they can make money, and they can make money by competing in a competition. So
Great program.
it's a
Okay.
great program for everyone.
So I
And
just follow you on Facebook. I'm gonna hit you up on LinkedIn. I'm getting all your stuff, Kristen.
get all my stuff. I'm all over the place. Somebody told me, Kristen, you are like everywhere. And so I am everywhere. And so
put it back in the chat there. And you can also, a reminder, you can also save the chat at the bottom of the little chat box. There's 3 horizontal dots. You click on that, it'll say save chat. And then your mission will be, where did it save to?
Right, exactly. But I'll make sure you get it just in case y'all can't find it, because it even stumps me sometimes. So
I know, right? Okay. I know it's saved, but where is it?
hello, Linda. Good to see you. Rufus, Barbara, did you get that information on Angela Reddick? She is the employment discrimination guru of all times. If she can't help you, she definitely can refer you over. She is she was on the show last week. You can check out that link I just sent you on the YouTube. On YouTube, she was here. She gave a whole lot of information, and then you can go to her website. Angela Reddick,
Crystal,
right?
Crystal,
Yes.
Stop the stream and the recording.
Oh, okay.